Welcome everyone to round 2 of April 2nd Star Wars Unlimited Locals Night over at Valkyrie Vault in Brownsburg, Indiana. If you guys are looking for a place to play some Star Wars Unlimited, check out Valkyrie Vault in Brownsburg, Indiana. Thursday nights, 6 p.m., $5 entry. And for round 2, I'm here sitting with my Qui-Gon Green that went X1 for this, Qui-Gon Force Green that went X1 for this event against Vader Law Blue. Nice. So we got some nice gameplay here. So anyways, before we jump in, let's discuss our decks and our leaders. My Qui-Gon leader states on his front side action, tap and pay the Force. You may bounce back a unit back to your hand, and if you do, you may play a unit from your hand for free that is cost less than the unit you bounce back. So if you bounce back a 2, you have to play 1, but you can fail the action. So you technically can just bounce a unit back to your hand and fail the action. He flips on 6 and then does the exact same thing on his backside, but he actually technically has to attack. And if you're wondering, yes, that is 40k sleeves from Ultra Pro and a 40k mat from Ultra Pro. That mat is actually an exclusive from Adepticon. So if you weren't at Adepticon, you weren't getting that mat. They also had a 𝐒𝐓𝐃 mat, but I'm not an 𝐒𝐓𝐃 player. So yeah, I wasn't going to pick that one up, but I am a 40k player. So I picked up the Space Marine sleeves and the Necron sleeves while I was at Adepticon. And on the other side, and so my deck is basically just yellow-green control. So the whole gimmick of Qui-Gon is that you're just making big guys. You're going to bring out your guys, bounce them back, play other guys. So it's a recursion ability. So being able to play a guy, bounce it back, play that guy, play another guy for free, and then trigger their ability, especially once you get to the high end of your 8s and 7s. For instance, you can play Yoda, use the Force, kill something on the battlefield, and then being able to then from there, bounce the Yoda back to your hand and then drop a 7 like Depa or the Qui-Gon 7, both of which have ambush, allowing you to ambush into something and keeping the Yoda next turn so you can gain the Force off those ambushes and then go Yoda again next turn using Yoda. You also have access to the Liberty in this deck as well, the really new cost capital ship for the Rebellion, which is really nice. That's when played on attack with Sentinel, 9/7 with Sentinel. That's when played on attack, you may rest one of your opponent's units and then bounce all upgrades that cost 4 or less back to your opponent's hand. So it's really nice at bouncing a lot of experience off your opponent because experience doesn't come back to your hand. So it's just about bouncing comboing out your lines and bouncing back your stuff and basically going from there. So it's a really fun deck. I 100% really enjoyed. I do want to try the Force Blue engine with it because that gives you then access to Anakin himself and potentially even Anakin's pod racer and some other blue strategies as well. And maybe I'll try a Force Red with him and play aggressive negotiations like everybody else. But nonetheless, on the other side, we have Vader Law Blue, our newest Vader leader in the game, also with the probably really cool showcase of him in the hallway scene with the lightsaber and all that if you're a big fan of Rogue One. So the whole gimmick of this deck is that you pitch cards out of your hand to burn your opponent for damage on their units or bases, and then basically being in blue you have access to the Mandalorian, you have access to Bailorant, you have access to a single reactor ignition. So it's basically just a new way of control, and it has access to aggressive negotiations. What do you expect, folks? It's red. It's always going to have aggressive negotiations. So nonetheless, we have a combo style bounce, recurrent style deck against a more control style beatdown strategy. So without further ado, let's jump into game number 1. So for game number 1, Darth Vader is going to start off with an 𝐻K-47, and I'm going to then go for a Mysterious Hermit to allow me to claim the Force here and then deal 1 damage to 𝐻K-47, and my opponent is going to take the initiative here, and my camera is going to decide it's done having fun focusing. By the way, my problem for my one thing with my sleeves is, man, they were slick. Then again, they were just right out of the packaging, so yeah. A little crazy to think that I actually didn't tap my camera multiple times throughout this one. But anyways, we're going to have the 𝐻K-47 here with the Mysterious Hermit and all that. I am pulling out my Sharpie marker here for credits. Anyways, I'm going to then 𝐻K is going to kill off the Mysterious Hermit here, and then I'm going to put out the pod racer to allow me to gain a credit. That is my credit right there, and I'll put dice there for you all. And then we're going to go for a Bith Bruth, a 4/3 Sentinel with, I believe, Saboteur as well. nonetheless. And then I'm going to claim the initiative and pass there. No point in doing anything else. I could have technically had done something with the Qui-Gon there, spending the Force to bounce back the Pod Racer, and then play it 2. I could have done that as well. But anyways, one thing about this is why I'm playing the Pod Racer is because you can incur the credits here to allow you to cheaply bring back units. So anyways, I'm going to bounce that back to my hand. I'm going to go for the Gunji out there. Then that's going to allow me to play the Pod Racer again. We're going to take 4 damage from the Bith Brute there. Apologies for that, as we're going to go for the Pod Racer again, allowing me to create another credit token. My die is going to represent my credit tokens. Then we're going to go for Hana down the battlefield as well from there. And then we're going to take another 2 damage from HK47. Not great that I'm getting murdered here, but anyways, with 2 credits onto the battlefield here and at level 5, and that means I can play a 7 cost for free here, being able then, if it survives, allow it to bounce it back with of course, the Qui-Gon. I'm going to burn all that for a Qui-Gon Jinn. We're going to kill the Bith Brute, and then we're going to take that, gain back the Force here, which means that if the Qui-Gon survives, I am allowed to bounce the Qui-Gon and then play a 6 cost or less from my hand, which is pretty nice, allowing me to keep the Qui-Gon in my hand. And again, that's just the fun of Qui-Gon Jinn. If you have never played Qui-Gon Jinn, give him a try. He's a lot of fun. I mean, I think he's sort of like a combo strategy. So anyways, we're going to go for the Pod Racer, swinging in and killing HK47. Then we're going to go for the Valorant here. And then my camera is going to finally figure out how to focus. And then we're going to go for the Gunji, swinging into the base here. Unfortunately, I just don't have a 6 right now. So anyways, we're going to bounce back the Qui-Gon. And we're going to go for the Blade Wing, bouncing back the Valorant. There again, Valorant states on attack, you just get to draw 1, which again, it's really good for this type of Vader because typically you're pitching cards out of your hand. This player is being more conservative with their hand, not really pitching for the Vader effect and all that here. So not too bad here. I do have the Tower Tech, which actually, funny enough, came up twice because I played 2 Vader leaders, and the Tower Techs actually did come up because of their ability. And anyways, we're going to go for the Hana to swing then for 5 damage because the Raid 2, and then restoring 2 here. So basically, there's no damage on that base there. I am capable of flipping the Qui-Gon Jinn this turn as well, which is pretty nice here. So anyways, going to go swing 3 damage with the Blade Wing here. Then we go for the Mandalorian. Again, on attack, when play, draw 1 card, and whenever you draw a card, give himself a shield token. So the Mandalorian can actually get kind of out of hand if you continually draw more cards, but he's kind of a nuisance right there, being a guy. So anyways, we're going to deal 2 damage to, of course, Hana here, and then we're going to flip over Qui-Gon Jinn here as well, and then we're going to be able to then figure out exactly what I want to do. I probably was thinking about for this matchup, I actually should have, in all honesty, probably swung the Pod Racer into the Mandalorian, knocking out the Mandalorian. Then I'm going to kill the Hana here, and then I'm going to bounce back the Blade Wing, and I'm going to pull out Tartak. And then we're going to go for 2 damage at my opponent's base with the Gunji here, and then that's pretty much it. We're going to go for another Blade Wing. We're going to bounce the Mandalorian back to my opponent's hand just so that they can, draw another card, I guess. We did go into the we did get Yoda here, which is really nice. That's like the only way I'm able to sustain out some of these long games, especially against red, is going into the Yoda play here. I do have the Tar Tech here, which funny enough does get an ambush when it goes after, when your opponent plays a force unit from the base. So honestly, I probably should have waited on this one. I think I go for too or quick with it, but I do have the Jyn Erso in hand, which I could rest out the Vader here for 1 turn, allowing me to do a couple of different things with it where I can easily go for the attack on that. So anyways, we're going to go for the Jyn Erso. We're going to rest down the Vader here. We're going to figure out what we want to do now. Again, he's going to play out the Mandalorian again. This is where I probably should have done things a little differently, if I'm being a little honest. Yeah, I think I probably could have played that differently, where I could have potentially, like at this point, maybe I should have swung with someone. Then I could have had Qui-Gon swing into Vader there and then kill off Vader here with the damage here. And then I could have done, then I could have had the Qui-Gon effect kill off, then I could have had the Qui-Gon effect Qui-Gon effect on death, spin back the Mandalorian to my bottom of my opponent's deck there. And then we're going to go for another Jyn Erso here, giving an experience token to Gunji, allowing me to kill off the Vader here, and then going 3 damage. Yeah, I don't think I played that completely right, if I'm being a little honest. I think if I had really wanted to play that differently, I think what I should have actually done is swung the Qui-Gon, bounced back the Blade Wing, and then being able to play the Jyn for free, allowing me to play the Jyn Erso for free rather than and bounce the Blade Wing back to my hand, even though I don't get the 3 damage attack from the Blade Wing. That would have allowed me to bounce the Blade Wing, play the Jyn, rest the Vader, and then when they played the Mandalorian, I could have done, then I could have easily done Qui-Gon attack Vader, then I could easily have swung, say, the Tartek into the Vader as well if need be, or even the Gunji into the Vader. It doesn't really matter. Kill off the Vader and then bounce the Mandalorian back to the bottom of his deck, meaning that he would be completely free from his bodies. So yeah, I think that's where I messed up 100% in this match. Now realizing is I 100% should have just bounced the Blade Wing back to my hand, even though it couldn't. With just ignoring the 3 damage, gotten to play the Jin for free, and then being able to allow me to rest the Vader, and then waiting for him to play something, and then going into the attack with, because I had the Qui-Gon in hand, so he would have had to play something, or I could easily have just swung and killed off the Vader there at that point as well, which could have been pretty nice as well. But nonetheless, my opponent did get the win for round number 1. Let's move into round number 2. Here we go, folks, for round number 2. We're going to start it off out here. So I'm going to just go for a Mysterious Hermit because apparently I can't find Gunji, and then we're going to go for a Cyril here, and we're just going to pass there with me claiming the initiative there because, again, I can't find Gunji. Unfortunately, we can't play Gunji with lightsabers anymore, which is very sad. Can't run Gunji. But anyways, we're going to go for the Padre to create a credit token here, which is not too bad at all. So anyways, we're going to go for Cyril to swing at the Pod Racer for 2, and then Cyril's and then we're going to just have the Mysterious Hermit kill the Cyril, and then we're going to have the tie. Then we're going to have the tie up there, then kill off the Pod Racer here so I don't bounce it back to my hand. Probably a misplay there, if I'm being a little honest. I probably should have just bounced back the Pod Racer back to my hand, burning the Force there. Because, well, no, I didn't have the Force. Anyways, we're going to go for blue leader, and then we're going to have blue leader go kill off the TIE Fighter, and then we're going to put down HK-47 on the base, where we're going to flip, and we're going to bounce back the blue squadron back to my hand just so I have it. And then we're going to go for again a ping of 1, allowing me to gain the Force here, which is really nice because that does mean that now I can bring down the blue squadron down to the ground here for that. And then anyways, we're going to go for HK taking 1 damage. I'm going to take 2 there from that one. Then we're going to go for blue squadron to kill HK here, taking 2 damage, and then of course coming down for its 5. And then we're going to bring out the punishing 1 in space here, which not great to see in space. Again, on attack, when played on attack, you can deal 1 damage to a unit. It gains raid 1 for each damage unit on your opponent's side of the board. Not exactly great when you're trying to deal with something like that in Sky. But I do have kind of a way to do it. There is also, by the way, I forgot the Max Rebo ban, and Max Rebo is in here. I didn't play either one of them. I think I played the Max Rebo ban once, but that was it. I never played Max Rebo because every deck I played against it, I didn't really want to draw 2 cards deeper and resource 2 cards. Anyways, we're going to go for Anakin. By the way, that's a misplay on the fact of that the Blade Wing should have bounced back the punishing 1, so technically the punishing 1 should still actually be in my opponent's hand. So anyways, we're going to go then swing 5 damage at my opponent's base there with that. So neither of us caught the punishing 1 there, that the punishing 1 went to the graveyard there. And then we're going to then just hit with the Qui-Gon Jinn, no bounce with the Blue Squadron Escort there. I'm basically just playing it and keeping it as a body there, just be a 5/5 nuisance if my opponent wants to come and deal with it. I did have the Bugwile, so I could have Bugwiled it back to my opponent's hand as well. So anyways, they're going to kill the Blue Squadron. Blue leader is going to die there as well. I do have the Tartek, funny enough. I could swing the Tartek to kill off the Anakin here if need be. I also have the Jyn Erso, so I'm just kind of figuring out. I do have the Yoda as well, and then I can easily trade out into something else here. So we're going to go for a Jyn and give an experience token to good old Qui-Gon here, and then we're going to figure out what else we want to do here. I do have the Ahsoka Tano, which if my opponent pitches out a unit, my opponent does get to pitch the card. It's not a random pitch here. So I'm going to go for BT1 to rest the Vader, because again, when played, your opponent pitches a card out of their hand. If it's a unit card, they rest a unit here, and then we're going to go for the Mandalorian and to draw 1 here. And then basically I have to kind of figure out what I want to do at this point now, because now I'm staring down a board state I have no idea how to deal with. I do have, of course, the Yoda here to deal with, of course, the Vader. So I'm just going to take the initiative because I'm really thinking about what I want to do. I could swing the Qui-Gon Jinn, but that then allows my opponent to have a response there. So I was thinking about keeping jamming. I do have 2 jams in here. I think I only played like it once. And again, I really was only using it to hunt down that. So I'm just going to count it up. I do have enough here. We're just going to go for Yoda to burn the Force here, and then I'm going to be able to do 8 damage to the Vader here because of the effect there. So my opponent was just a little confused. So they're just going to scoop that one up. My board state has now become too impossible for them to deal with, because I could just go Qui-Gon swing, bounce back Yoda, and then that just keeps a recurring Yoda in my hand. And I had the Tartek as well, which can then trigger because he still has a Force unit, which means it gives me ambush, and I could kill the the Anakin there on the attack. So my opponent's just going to scoop up game 2. Technically, I think we should have played that a little differently because they decided to put the punishing one in their graveyard instead of bouncing it back to hand with the Blade Wing. But again, neither of us caught that, so unfortunate. But nonetheless, that does mean we have an all-important game number 3. All-important game number 3 as Vader finishes up their siding. I do really want to bring this Vader. Fun enough, at the time of this recording, I actually bought all the legendaries I was missing. I only needed 2 more single reactors, so I'll have them all now. 𝐒𝐲 coming down, and we're going to go for the mysterious Hermit to gain hit the 𝐒𝐲 for 1 and then give me the Force as well. So, yeah, I'm not sure. I think maybe sometimes I just decide not to go for the band. Honestly, maybe that wouldn't be too bad to just play the band, but the problem is the band's a 1/5 and all that. So anyways, we're going to go for 𝐒𝐲 to kill over the Hermit, and then we're going to be able to both draw us 1, and then we're going to go for the 𝐒𝐲 coming down as well, and then we're going to draw 2 more cards here, kind of figuring out I have a couple gun genes in there, so we're just going to resource 1 of them. I do have the Obi-Wan as well, so we're going to figure out what my opponent wants to do because they do have the ability to go here, and they do have 𝐒𝐲 as well, which is on attack. All that. So anyways, we're going to go for 𝐒𝐲 Tano, and then we're going to force my opponent to pitch out a card there. They're going to go for Fear and Deadman, which is still very good. I think, honestly, I probably should have played more defensively there and just gone for the Obi-Wan Kenobi instead of the 𝐒𝐲 Tano, and then played the 𝐒𝐲 Tano a little later. So we're going to kill the 𝐒𝐲 with, of course, the Pod Racer there, allowing me to stop the draw engine that my opponent's going through. Well, it's nice for me. I would have kind of liked my opponent didn't have a draw engine right now. Anyways, we're going to go for 𝐒𝐲 on attack, and then we're going to reveal. So I either had to take 2 damage to the 𝐒𝐲 Tano or pitch a card out of my hand. So I really just going to take the 2 damage on 𝐒𝐲 Tano. They're not really caring about pitching. I really don't want to pitch anything out of my hand here. I'm just going to have to claim from this point. I don't really have anything else to do. I only have 1 credit token up and running. So again, I can bounce the 𝐒𝐲 Tano. That is the thing. I could bounce Ahsoka here. So we are going to bounce the Ahsoka to go for Gunji, and my opponent's going to be paid for. We're going to go for Hana, and then I'm going to then pass from there. And then my opponent, then we're going to both pass from that game state right here. It's going to be very interesting. I do have the 𝐕𝐈𝐃 in hand as well, as we can do some stuff with. Anyways, we're going to go for blue leader to knock out the Hana here, immediately being able to kill it off the battlefield, which is pretty nice there. And then we're going to go for 𝐒𝐲 to swing in, and then we're going to reveal again. We're going to go after the blue leader. This is the point where I'm very considerate of that maybe I should just let it die instead of losing a card out of my hand. But so I'm just going to get rid of the 𝐒𝐲 Tano here, and then we're going to go for 2, killing off the 𝐒𝐲, getting back the Force here, and then we're going to figure out what my opponent wants to do. So they're going to go for, of course, the punishing one there, dealing that damage, and then I'm going to bounce back the blue squadron there, and then I'm going to put out the Jedi Consular onto the ground here just so I can do that. And again, remember, the punishing one gets raid 1 for every damage unit on the board state, and it can attack deal damage to my opponent. So the problem for me is that the only way to get that off the board state is to 𝐕𝐈𝐃 it back to my opponent's hand, or Blade Wing back to my opponent's hand, because it's a 3/5, meaning that it kills off the the blue squadron escort, the blue leader. So maybe that's also the point, is I probably should have just ran blue leader into it altogether, if I'm being a little honest. So we're just going to go for a flip of the Qui-Gon Jinn here. I do have the ability to, of course, use the Consular if I have the Force to reduce the cost of anything the board state right now. So that's like the thing. I could go Consular to reduce the play cost of something. Then we're going to go for Anakin to immediately kill off the Jedi Consular. Not that he really did much. But kind of figuring out now what we want to do here. I could go for Qui-Gon Jinn, but this is then, I think, my mistake. I should have actually probably gone 𝐕𝐈𝐃 over onto the punishing one, forcing my opponent to have to play it out again for the turn, and then going for that. So instead of going for that, where they had really no advantage of me doing that and any possibility, and then that just kills off the Qui-Gon, and the Qui-Gon does absolutely nothing. Instead of me, I should have probably played their blue leader, hoped to get my hands on another blue leader, or gone 𝐕𝐈𝐃 to bounce back the punishing one, and then basically force my opponent into only having the Anakin, and that they played something on the ground state, dealing with that. Instead of, I'm dealing here with the punishing one, killing me for 5 each turn, which isn't really great. Anyways, I'm going to go for the Qui-Gon Jinn here to be a resource, and then I'm going to be able to look at the top 4 cards in my deck. I draw 2 of them and then put 1 on the top. So in that case, there's the Blue Angel, which would have been pretty nice to actually have seen to deal with the punishing one there altogether, because I could have swung it at the punishing one and then being able to deal 4 damage to it. The problem with the Blue Angel is that it just kind of sucks because it struggles in this matchup. Because of what it does. The Blue Angel states on it that you basically give your opponent the ability to play that. So anyways, we're just going to look at the opponent's hand. Yeah, so 𝐕𝐃 is bounce back his 6 cost or less unit, and then you can look at your opponent's hand. So yeah, my opponent is well stacked there. There's just really no way for me to out that board state. And again, I've had multiple times where I probably could have played a blue squadron, a blue leader, and potentially have killed off this punishing one 100%. Rather, I'm just kind of really playing this differently than I really like. I mean, I could have probably bounced that punishing one turns ago and made my opponent to replay it rather than and reset their board state. Again, the blue angel also isn't very nice in this game state as well. I just really don't like the blue angel in this deck. I get why it's there. It's a 4/5 sentinel. If it's your opponent's last 4/5 guy with ambush, that if it's opponent's only unit is killing it off, then you can basically just deal with it. But I don't know, I don't like it. Anyways, we're gonna go for the punishing one. Punishing one is then gonna get that raid. It's gonna deal an extra damage, and then basically I'm just dead here. There's no way for me to do anything. I could have potentially killed it off if I seen a Yoda, and that's my only way to actually get rid of this punishing one is a Yoda. So I'm just gonna claim the initiative here because I'm just trying to see what my opponent wants to do, because again, in this state, it's kind of tough for me. And I could swing with one of my guys, baiting that my opponent plays a unit, but then my opponent could easily just take the initiative here and then basically just deal with me by just swinging the punishing one for game. If I take the initiative, I can potentially help to draw into a Yoda to try to kill out the punishing one. The problem is, as I remembered now, if I should have remembered, I don't know if I really originally saw it, but I did draw into my Yoda a little too late into the game here, because unfortunately the Yoda can heal 5 and then can deal 4 damage or something. That's not really enough, and even then I could bounce back the Yoda with the Qui-Gon and then play the blue leader here. So anyways, we're going to go for the Yoda to come down in the battlefield here. We're going to heal the 5 here, and then we're going to be able to then deal 4 damage to that, and then we're just going to go for aggressive negotiations, and we're just going to win the game from there. So yeah, I think honestly, I'm not so sure how I could have won game number 3 now looking at it. I think the punishing one was really my problem. I think honestly, to just deal with it, I should have just spent 2 turns throwing blue leaders at it. I had 2 blue leaders. I could have swung at it and killed it. I had the potential of running a blue angel, which would have survived and killed it, and I could have bounced the blue angel back for someone like Obi-Wan, which could have been pretty nice, but I don't know. I mean, the Yoda came too late. I think if I had the Yoda the turn I had the Gunji still out, I could have played Yoda, healed 5, and killed off the punishing one, and then bounced Yoda to play something else on the board state, which would have been pretty nice, but I don't know. Again, it's all kind of like in this Qui-Gon, if you don't really see your lines and you don't really see the good guys you can play out of your lines, it struggles. But I think that also didn't help that I struggled a little bit with, well, I could have gotten game number 1 if I had played that completely different, where I had actually kept the Qui-Gon Jinn in my hand, and then swung the Qui-Gon Jinn at the Vader, killed it, and bounced back the Mandalorian, which would have allowed me to have my opponent on a 0 game state, and then aggressive negotiations would have won them that game state. And I could have then played it very differently, where I could have played hyper more control at that point, keeping them off bodies that could potentially harm me. So I think that was my problem in game number 1, where I definitely could have done a whole lot better. Game 2, I think me and my opponent missed the punish 1 going to graveyard instead of going to hand off of the blade wing. And game 3, I just couldn't get out of that punishing one. Even though I think I did have ways to get around it, I just decided not to do those around it ways. So with that said, you guys let me know down in the comments on both of these decks, on both of these leaders. Have you tried out either of these leaders? If you've never tried out Qui-Gon, give him a try, guys. He's a lot of fun. Honestly, he is a lot of fun, and he got a lot of new fun tools with Secrets of Power. Or, sorry, from a Lawless time. He got some new fun things from a Lawless time. But nonetheless, let me know all your thoughts, guys, down in the comments on the gameplay, on the decks, on the leaders, if you tried out either of them, if you're going to try them out in this meta, and your thoughts overall on aggressive negotiations. And while you're commenting, do make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell so you can notify when my videos go live for you, and we'll see you here next time on Mom Dragons TCG.